Hello, Michael. Hello, Ernesto. Today, our question is, we don't know what we will experience in a year's time. For example, could some of the reactions I stop having between now and then, detachment from likes and dislikes, understanding the meaninglessness of certain beliefs I still have as an ego, etc., be part of the Prarabdha Karma I will experience in a year's time, etc.? That is, could acting as if everything depends on me as an ego imply that the will I put into trying to stop feeding my ego is part of what I have to do to make certain events happen or not happen in my experience 1 year from now?
We need not be concerned about prarabdha, because whatever we are to experience, we will experience. It is not in our hands at all. So what is destined to happen will happen. What is not destined to happen will not happen. Regarding the actions we do, that is, in order for us to experience our prarabdha, it is necessary to do certain actions. What those actions are, we don't know, but we will be made to do those actions. As Bhagavan says in the first sentence of the note he wrote for his mother, according to the prarabdha of each one, he who is for that, being there, will make them act. So just like we cannot change what we are destined to experience, that is it, what we are destined to experience, we will experience. What we are not destined to experience, we will not experience. Likewise, the actions we need to do in order to experience whatever we are destined to experience, we will be made to do. So we need not be concerned about those actions. So we will be made to do whatever actions are necessary in order for us to experience prarabdha. That does not mean that all the actions we do are actions we are made to do in accordance with our prarabdha, because we are also acting under the sway of our vasanas. The actions that we do under the sway of our vasanas are what are called agamya. And agamya are the karmas that bear fruit, and those fruit get added to sanchita, the store, from which a certain portion will be selected as the prarabdha for each life. So prarabdha is completely out of, that is, once you've done an action, the fruit is no longer in your hands, it's in God's hands. It gets stored in sanchita, and as and when God, or Bhagavan we can say, as and when Bhagavan wants us to experience it, we will experience it. And in order to experience it, certain actions of our mind, speech, and body may be necessary. We need not be concerned about those actions because we'll be made to do those actions. So how can we avoid doing agamya? When we don't even know which actions are prarabdha, which actions are gamya, how can we avoid doing agamya? It's very simple. We need not know to what extent any action is driven either by our will or by God's will. Being made to act in accordance with our prarabdha is God's will. So whether it's our will or God's will or both of the wills acting in unison doesn't matter. The fact is, as soon as we allow ourselves to be swayed by any vishaya vasana, our attention is moving away from ourselves towards something else. That is the beginning of karma. As soon as we allow our attention to move away from ourselves, we are feeding the rising of ego, and the movement of our attention away from ourselves towards something else is a thought. And if we allow the thoughts if we continue to be swayed by that vasana, the thought will become a word or an action. So actions of mind, speech, and body, they result from our allowing ourselves to be swayed by our vasanas. That is, of course, there's some actions of mind, speech, and body, which is according to prarabdha. That we need not be concerned about because that's not in our hands. What is in our hands is whether we are swayed by our vasanas or not. If we are swayed by the vishaya vasanas, inevitably we will be doing agamya to a greater or lesser extent. That is, to the extent to which we are swayed by vasanas, to that extent we are doing agamya. So how to avoid doing agamya? We need not know which actions are agamya, which actions are actions we are made to do in accordance with prarabdha. All we need to do is to avoid being swayed by our vasanas. If we are avoiding being swayed by our vasanas, how do we avoid being swayed by our vishaya vasanas? The movement of our attention away from ourselves towards anything else is the result of being swayed by vishaya vasanas. So in order to avoid being swayed by vishaya vasanas, we need to cling to self-attentiveness. So long as we cling to self-attentiveness, to the extent to which we are self-attentive, to that extent we are not being swayed by vishaya vasanas, and therefore we are not doing agamya. This is all we need to understand. This question is an extremely complicated question, but we really need not be concerned about this. If something is prarabdha, if it's to be experienced according to prarabdha, it will be experienced. If an action has to be done in order for us to experience that, we will be made to do that action. So we need not be concerned anything about prarabdha. Prarabdha is going to take its own course. The only thing we need be concerned about, we also need not be concerned about the agamya. The agamya is inevitable if we allow ourselves to be swayed by vasanas. So all we need to be concerned about is holding on to I am, and thereby not allowing ourselves to be swayed by vasanas. That's all we need to understand. This question, I certainly can't answer. Nobody can answer. Krishna has said the secret of karma, it cannot be understood by anyone. If there's anyone who can understand it, it's only God. It's only Bhagavan. So let us leave all concern about these things to him. One more thing I would add here. When Bhagavan selects which fruit we are to experience in this lifetime, in other words, when he allots a certain destiny, a certain prarabdha for us, that prarabdha is tailor-made to suit us, to suit our present stage of spiritual development. So if you are a spiritual aspirant, it's highly unlikely that it's going to be your experience, for example, that you're a murderer, or that you would be prompted to do an action that could be taken to be murder. Because you're a spiritual aspirant, Bhagavan isn't going to give you you may be falsely accused of murder, but you wouldn't actually be guilty of murder, because if you were the type of person who would murder someone else, you wouldn't be inclined to the spiritual path. If you're inclined to the spiritual path, you're not going to be the type of person who would murder. So the certain people, we see from their life, they're very bad people. And other people are very good people, relatively speaking. It's all relative. That good and bad are all relative. So people who are good people, they will not be made to do actions that are bad actions. So their prarabdha will be tailor-made to suit their current state of spiritual development. Whereas if a person is a bad person, if they've still got very strong, what Bhagavan calls asubha vasanas, that's very unfavorable, asubha means disagreeable, that's the literal meaning of asubha, disagreeable vasanas. In other words, if they've got strong desires and they want to rob people, cheat people, kill people, these sort of things, then their prarabdha will be allotted to suit their vasanas. So whatever prarabdha is allotted to us is the prarabdha that is best suited to our vasanas. So this question, that if we become more detached from our likes and dislikes, in other words, if our likes and dislikes become weaker, and if we consider and understand the meaninglessness of so many things that we previously believed and wanted and everything. This is all part of a process of spiritual development. This has been anticipated when our prarabdha was allotted to us, because Bhagavan allotted our prarabdha in such a way it would be most favorable for our spiritual development. He anticipates. That doesn't mean that our spiritual development is preordained, but it is anticipated that we are going to make such and such progress, and things will seem to happen, but in accordance with may even seem to be the result of the spiritual effort we've made. But it is not. That is whatever we do in this lifetime, do or don't do in this lifetime, will not change what we are destined to experience. But what we are destined to experience has been allotted to us to suit our present stage of spiritual development.
Yes, I think in this question, is pointing to these people that conserve the belief that they can choose, they can decide, the doer, the doership. Yeah. And I think it's a good recommendation for these people that try to do whatever you think that is the best, no?
Yes.
Because the fruit of these actions will go to the Sanchita between Agamya, no?
Yeah.
But maybe some actions that you do are part of the Prarabdha to what you finally have to live or experience.
Yeah.
No?
Yeah.
And you don't know, for what Krishna said, no? You don't know if this action that I'm going to do now, and I don't do anything, no? But I believe that I do. Even if you believe that you do this action, and you don't know that if this action is part of the necessary actions for the Prarabdha, if you conserve this belief that you are the doer, maybe is a good position for you before you can accept absolutely that you have not any power to move a hair, no? of a head. No?
Yes. I'm not sure. That is about doership. Doership is the very nature of ego, because as ego we identify ourselves with mind, speech, and body. So we cannot give up doership so long as there is ego. If we want to give up doership, we need to give up ego. That's what Bhagavan indicates in verse 38 of Ulludunapadu. If we are the doer of actions, we will experience the resulting fruit. So long as there is doership, we will experience prarabdha. So the very fact that we are now experiencing the fruit of our past action means we still have that doership. And then in the next sentence, he says, when one knows oneself by investigating who is the doer of action, doership will depart and all the three karmas will slip off. So to get rid of doership, we need to get rid of ego. So whether we believe we are the doer or not, in effect, we are the doer. Because so long as we... Now, I am thinking what is an appropriate answer to say. I am thinking. I am also talking. I'm talking. I'm also sitting. My experience now is I am thinking, I am talking, I am sitting. I'm identifying why do I experience this? Because I identify myself with the mind, I identify myself with the speech, and I identify myself with the body. So we cannot give up this identification by any means other than this simple practice of self-investigation and self-surrender that Bhagavan has taught us. Because the only way to give up doership is to give up ego. And we can give up ego only by self-investigation and self-surrender. So when we think about Bhagavan's teachings, we need to have a simple and clear understanding. We shouldn't try to complicate, we shouldn't try to ask complicated questions that are just going to confuse us. This question is it's a very complicated question. It's not necessary to know these things. If we understand what is destined to happen is going to happen, we cannot avoid it. What is not destined to happen is not going to happen. We cannot experience it however much we want to and try to experience it. So these things are completely out of our hands. The actions that we have to do according to destiny, even if we don't want to do them, we will somehow or other be made to do them. So we need not be concerned about such actions. The only way we can tackle this problem of karma is at the very root. As soon as we allow our attention to move away from ourselves, we are beginning to do karma. We allow our attention to move away from ourselves under the sway of our vasanas. Don't be swayed by your vasanas. Hold on to I am. That is the only solution. Yes, true. Now we are so many times not holding on to I am. We are so many times allowing our attention to be carried away. Doesn't matter what to do. We need to bring our attention back and try to hold on to I am again. So we need not be concerned about anything else. The only thing we should be concerned about is trying to know who or what we actually are. Like karma, Bhagavan has taught us something about the law of karma. He has taught us what we need to know in order to help us to go within. So if we understand that whatever we are destined to experience, we will experience. Whatever we are not destined to experience, we will not experience. If we understand that and really are convinced of that, why should we continue trying to experience anything? If we are destined to experience it, we'll experience it. If we're not destined to experience it, so we become indifferent to what is happening in our life.
It is make concessions to, again, no, the horses behind the
point is we need to understand the purpose of these teachings. We can go on discussing karma for all eternity. It's not a solution. Some basic things we need to understand. We cannot change anything. Once we cannot change what is to happen, what we are to experience, that is predetermined. So why we're taught that? So we should be indifferent to that. Likewise, whatever actions we need to do, in order for our prarabdha to unfold, we will be made to do those actions. So we need not be concerned about those actions. The agamya, we need not be concerned about that either, because so long as we are being swayed, to the extent to which we are swayed by vasanas, we are thereby doing agamya. To the extent to which we refrain from being swayed by vasanas, we are thereby avoiding doing agamya. So what should we do? All we need to do is to try to hold on to I am and thereby not allow ourselves to be swayed by vasanas. This is all we need to understand. Nothing more is necessary. If we try and think more about this, if I do this, if I do that, is this prarabdha, is that, it doesn't matter. If you've understood the basic principles, what is the implication of all that Bhagavan has taught us about the three karmas, about agamya, sanchita, and prarabdha? The cause for falling into this ocean of action, as he says in verse 2 of Upadesh Undiyya, is the seeds of a vasanas. If we allow ourselves to be swayed by vasanas, we are getting caught up in the ocean of karma. If we want to extricate ourselves from this ocean of karma, we need to cling to I am. To the extent to which we cling to I am, we are thereby not being swayed by our vasanas, and thereby we are not engaging in action. The body, speech, and mind may continue to be active in accordance with prarabdha. It's no concern of ours. Our only concern should be to hold on to I am. This is what we should, the implication we should understand from all that Bhagavan has taught us about karma.
And when Michael, when you say getting swayed by our vasanas, you mean attending to other phenomena?
Attending to anything other than ourselves. Why do we attend to anything other than ourselves? Because we're inclined to attend to it. So when our attention moves away from ourselves, it moves away from ourselves under the sway of vasanas.
So, for example, let's say I have a thought pops in my mind about, I don't know, the example you usually use of chocolate, no? Eating chocolate or something. Then the seed has sprouted already at that point.
Yes, the vasana has sprouted in the form of a thought.
Exactly. So if I let the vasana go further, as to eat the chocolate at the end, to go to the supermarket and buy the chocolate or whatever. So
you're thereby strengthening that vasana.
Exactly. So,
but instead of it, as soon as that vasana arises, to whom is this thought? To whom is this idea of chocolate? To me. If you turn your attention back to yourself, hold on to self-attentiveness, you are thereby strengthening the inclination to be self-attentive and weakening the inclination to think about or to eat chocolate.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. You of course, you stop any...
It is so simple what Bhagavan has taught us. If we understand this, it is so simple. So now, if we've understood this, then what is the choices are? Do we attend to other things or do we attend to ourselves? It is not necessary to attend to anything other than ourselves. Oh, but I've got so many important duties, so many responsibilities. Doesn't matter. Whatever duties or responsibilities you have, if you really have them, a lot of the things we think we are responsible for, we're not responsible for. But if you actually have duties and responsibilities, God will take care of these things. He will make your mind, speech, and body do whatever is necessary. Our only duty is to hold on to I am. That should be our only concern. If we hold on to I am, everything else will be taken care of. That is taking the luggage from our head and leaving it on the train. That is surrendering ourselves to Bhagavan. So how to surrender ourselves? Hold on to I am.
And our unique freedom is to go inside, to attend ourselves, or not let you go swayed by your vasanas when this is not part of the prarabdha, no? Only in the cases.
Whether it is part of a prarabdha or not, we should not be swayed by our vasanas. If we hold on to I am, the prarabdha will go on of its own accord, because many of the actions we do under the sway of our vasanas may also be actions that we are made to do according to prarabdha. But just because this action is an action we're made to do according to prarabdha doesn't exonerate us from the blame of having been swayed by the vasanas that prompted us to do that. So our aim is to hold on to I am. That is all we need to understand. The more we hold on to I am, the less we are being swayed by vasanas. The less we are being swayed by vasanas, the more all the actions of our body, speech, and mind will only be actions done in accordance with prarabdha.
But sorry, Michael, I don't listen very well, or I don't know if I don't understand. For example, with the example of the chocolate.
Yes.
I have the impulse of my vasana to go to the fridge to take the chocolate, no?
Right.
If it's in my prarabdha that I must to go to the fridge, I have no freedom to go inside.
No, but you have the freedom as soon as the vasana rises to go to the fridge, you have the freedom to hold on to I am. If you are genuinely holding on to I am, the fact that your body that your mind, that the thought it goes on in the mind and you get up and you go to a fridge and you eat the chocolate, it's no concern of yours because it's all according to prarabdha.
No, our body will go to the fridge, but I am absolutely claimed to I am.
Yes.
And the body do whatever.
Yeah, and not only the body, even the mind will do whatever it's destined to do. But you will be unconcerned about that because you're clinging to I am.
Mm-hmm. But this is just guessing. I mean, guessing if going to the fridge is prārabdha or agami. I mean, there's no way to know. Yeah.
We shouldn't be concerned about it. If it's our prarabdha to eat chocolate, we cannot avoid eating chocolate.
Exactly.
Our only concern should be to hold on to I am. Let everything else. Take the luggage off your head, put it on the train, then you can travel carefree. How do we take the luggage off our head? By holding on to I am. All these questions, let Bhagavan break his head about this question. Why should we break our head about asking such questions? He who has ordained, he who allots for prarabdha, he knows how to take care of all these things. Leave it to him. All Bhagavan has asked us to do is to hold on to I am. Let us hold on to I am, and everything will be taken care of.
And the body maybe will go to the fridge and take the chocolate, but
maybe or not, it's no concern of ours.
Yeah.
Let the body do anything. Our only concern should be to hold on to I am.
But you don't take the chocolate and eat it if you are not, if you are claimed to the I am, no?
You don't, that is, if you're really clinging, to the extent to which we are clinging to I am, we will not even be aware of the body going to the fridge and eating the chocolate. That is, our aim is to cling to I am more and more firmly. The more we cling to I am, the more everything else recedes into the background of our awareness.
But I don't understand one point. If you are clinging to I am, you are not ego.
To the extent to which you cling to I am, to that extent ego will subside.
And the part that
it's not a simple black and white thing, because we are trying to turn 180 degrees. If you turn 180 degrees, you're not ego. There is no such thing as ego. But until you turn the 180 degrees, there is still lingering awareness of other things, and therefore there's still, ego is still there. But what is our aim? Whether we are destined to eat chocolate or not to eat chocolate, it doesn't matter. Who am I? That should be our only concern. Mm-hmm. We need to be very focused, single-minded, one-pointed in this.
Yeah. And of course, what complicates all that is the fact that it could be both prarabdha and agami.
Exactly.
So that's
But in order to avoid, in order to minimize the extent to which it is agamya, mm-hmm. we need to hold on to I am. To the extent to which we hold on to I am, we are thereby not being swayed by vivasana and thereby not doing agamya. But it's all, I emphasize to the extent, because none of us are clinging perfectly to I am. Mm-hmm. We are partially attending to I am, and also that's why we continue, even when I'm clinging to I am, I'm aware I'm sitting here or I'm walking, or that there will still be lingering awareness of other things until we turn the full 180 degrees.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So none of us have escaped karma completely until we get rid of ego. And we can get rid of ego only by turning the full 180 degrees.
Meanwhile, maybe you can claim 80 degrees or 100 degrees to what
we don't know about that. All we know is our aim should be to cling to I am. Whether we are turning 10 degrees or 170 degrees, we are not to, did I turn more this time or did I turn less? We are not to think about these things. We should be one-pointed, thinking only one thing: who am I? And our focus should be on holding on to I am in order to know what we actually are.